So we were on the Ayin Reish Hey, right? 275. And we learned about the story of, it's the second page. And we learned about the Rebbe Zusha, the way that he would give people Musar was this one, yeah. Somebody's there? For who? Well, what's a man or woman? So tell her to come in and wait. Let me just call her in and I'll speak to her. Shayan, the first round switch, I'll turn this light on. Good. Okay. Hi.
I was passing by, just wanted to say hi to Judy.
She went shopping. I don't know. You want her number? She might be home in a minute. You have her cell phone? Oh, do you have your cell phone? So call her right now. 0545 331 820. Shabbos. Okay. What's your name in case? We'll leave her a message if you don't get her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'll leave her.
Yeah. Okay, so we were learning, sorry for the interruption, folks out there, wherever you are. We were learning about the way to rebuke is, first and foremost, know that whatever you see negative in another person, it means that I got the same problem. And the way the Reb Zusha was a tzaddik, right? And when he would see somebody that wasn't doing something, that wasn't putting on tefillin, or that wasn't keeping Shabbos properly, and he'd rebuke himself for those same things, because he understood the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov, of the Maggid, and also it's a Gemara, Kol HaPoisel, B'mumoy Poisel, right? When you Hashem is not interested in letting you see and letting us see the faults of other people, unless it's for a benefit. And for the benefit, meaning for my benefit, that to know that I have to fix this problem as well, and also to help the other person somehow, right? So he says, therefore, where did we stop? Which paragraph? There was one that I had made a mark. Is that the one I made a mark? Huh? No, we've already gone past that. Okay, I hear it. I have a mark over here, I think. Val Pizet, second last paragraph, right? So he says that if you have pure eyes, then you're not going to see anything negative in somebody, right? But there's hot water in the thermos. So ועל פי זה, כאשר מזמנים לו להיפגש עם הזולת, והוא רואה אצלו מציאות של רע, so when it's arranged for a person to see another person, in other words, when Hashemayim, it's arranged that you should see this person, and you see, והוא רואה אצלו מציאות של רע, and you see something not positive in this person, הרי זו הוכחה, that itself is the proof, שיש אצלו עניין זה בדקות דקות, so that he has the same problem, no matter how subtle it might be. Al kol panim, at the very least, it could be very, very subtle, but he's got the same problem. And therefore, ha'itza lazeh, the advice is, litvadot berabim, confess publicly, she'etzlo yeshno inyan zeh b'dakut, confess publicly that you have this problem, no matter how subtle. So when another person hears you confessing on something which is only like a subtle level of the Avera, right? The other guy's going to think about, like, the Rebbe of Zusha is crying over something that he in the most delicate manner. Gewalt, what am I going to do? I better do tshuva too, right? So, and that's how he's going to have an effect on the other person to fix his ways. The other he sees that you're confessing over something so subtle, he's going to make a cheshbon and he's going to say, "Wow, I really better do my tshuva." And so when talking about what we're talking about over here, when you're being told to confess publicly for the matters that you need to confess on, so to Einhu, so the person might say, seriously, how can I go and publicly shame myself, right? It's not going to be it's going to be the opposite of honor for the Torah. Imagine, like a holy man, a rabbi, a Rosh Hashiva, a tzaddik, going to stand there, like, what are you going to do? And you're hearing him confess publicly that, for his transgressions, you might lose your respect for this man's Torah learning, right? So says the Rebbe, if that's the way you feel, if you're not willing to publicly confess for your faults or things that you're lacking, so then get the point. Don't talk publicly about somebody else's, some other Jews' problems or faults. This is a very important point, you understand? And once heard a talk from Reb Meir Abisera, Olav Hashem. You didn't know him. He was a very special man. And it was actually back in Montreal still. He was a Sephardi Jew, and he was giving a talk to a whole big Sephardi crowd in French. And he was saying, you'll notice often Bali Tshuva, initially they're all like so happy to be doing tshuva and so on and so on. And then a few months down the line or a year down the line, they find themselves being very critical of others. Right? They find themselves being very critical of others, and they start going around as if they got a job to be God's policeman. Hey, what are you doing? We're going to talk now. This, fix this, fix that. So he says that is, and this is basically coming from the Tanya. Says that is a sure sign that you have stopped growing you've stopped advancing in your avodas Hashem, and you're really upset with yourself, but you're not ready to admit that it's your own problem. So what do? You try to make yourself feel better by looking down at others, right? Oh, you're doing this, you're doing that, right? In other words, and very often, like when you come to shul, the Yetzer Hara, what does the Yetzer Hara do? He says, "Oh, look at this guy, he's talking. Look at that guy, he's not davening, right?" What's that all about? What that's all about is that I'm not davening, so I feel bad that I'm not davening. So how do I make myself feel better? By looking around and seeing, oh, he's also not davening, or I'm davening better than this one. So if you find yourself like looking critically at other people, so first and foremost, realize it's your own problems. But understand that, and go a little bit deeper and understand that um, you need to continue growing in your avodas Hashem. So ואם רצונך לקיים את המצווה והוכיח תוכיח, and if you do want to fulfill the mitzvah rebuking the other, מה שכתוב, so then do what? תקיימה על פי מה שכתוב בשולחן ערוך. Then do it according to the conditions that are laid out in the code of Jewish law. שלכל לראש צריכים להוכיחו ביחיד. First and foremost, הוכיח תוכיח means you're going to rebuke somebody, it has to be done in private. ובאופן דברי חכמים בנחת נשמעים. And it has to be in a way that the words of the wise are heard when they're spoken benachat, when they're spoken gently, and so on. So you know that hocheach tocheach et amitecha, right? You remember the pasuk. The pasuk says, "Lo tikom, don't take revenge. Lo titor, and don't bear a grudge." And the pasuk before that, right? It says, "Lo tisna achicha b'levavecha." Don't hate your brother in your heart. Hocheach tocheach et amitecha. You shall surely rebuke him. V'lo tisa alav chet, but don't do a sin in the way you're rebuking him, right? And then it says, "Lo tikom v'lo tito et bnei amecha v'yahavtu v'yachu kamecha." So this is like a package of mitzvahs that all go together. So, but what's definitely absolutely clear is that if there's any hatred involved, right? In other words, if you're going to rebuke somebody and you're just sort of using hocheach tocheach as an excuse to make the person feel bad, not only are you not doing a mitzvah, you're doing an avera. You know. Also, there's a whole cloud that you know. Let's say see somebody that's not eating kosher or doing some transgression, and they don't even know that it's an avera, right? They don't know that it's a transgression. So before you tell them that they shouldn't do it, you got to consider, are they going to listen or not? Because if they're not going to listen, if they're not ready to listen, then better that they should do the avera b'shoigig than you go and tell them that this is an avera, doing it b'mezid. So this is actually, in other words, because of Ahavas Yisrael, you got to know that there are times that you absolutely should not give teichochim. Understand? Better don't say anything to this person. Any questions? Questions?
I didn't completely understand what would be the sin if I don't do Hocheach properly.
The sin is that,
What's the
in
sin?
which case, well, if the sin would be, for example, if you embarrass a person. If you're not doing it in private and you're embarrassing the person, then that's a huge available.
So Abanat Panim.
If you Abanat Panim. If on the
I thought
other
if I did it
hand,
privately, could there be also a sin there also?
no, unless but you have to be doing it out of love. In other words, you have to be doing it because you really care about the person. If you do it because you're downloading some of your anger on them or something like that, then they're not going to listen to it, and it's going to make it worse. When you think back to your childhood, unless you were a tzaddik all your life, but think back to your childhood, when somebody would criticize you in a way that it didn't feel good. So what did you want to do? Then you wanted to go dafka, right? Like who are you to tell me this, and why should I listen to you? And I'm going to go do what I want, right?
The person like disgusting.
Yeah. Reb Nachman says that if you don't do Teichocha properly, and remember, we learned already that the Gemara already passed him, that nobody really knows how to do rebuking properly. If you don't do it properly, then he says it's like a piece of dirt that's stuck on you, right? That doesn't smell good. As you leave it alone, it doesn't stink so much. But if you start scratching it, the fragrance starts coming, the bad fragrance starts coming up again, right? So if you go and you rebuke someone improperly, and you're telling them, listen, you're basically sort of saying, you got this piece of schmutz on you, right? Well, if you're not doing it properly, if that piece of schmutz is going to start stinking, and it's going to make the air around the person smell bad, which is going to lead him to do it again. Okay? So there's a Shulchan Aruch, there's rules about how to do it and when to do it, but the Baal Shem Tov was really against that whole practice of the preachers who would come to town and would call the people together and give them a fire and brimstone talk, and and some of them were they would hang around for a day or two before they gave their talks, since they would go around seeing what the people are doing, and then they'd get up and they'd say, I've been here for a couple of days and I noticed this and this and this is terrible, and I noticed that and that's terrible, etc., etc. And like I told you, the Rebbe was also mentioned in the Sikha, particularly during the month of Elul and Tishrei, which are months of Rachamim, and you're going and he was very upset with the rabbis who would get up and they scream at the people and they tell them that they're sinners and things like that. It's the time to be Mikarev. It's not the time to drive people away.
We've been talking a lot about the importance of the person who's delivering how they deliver it. And I think there's also importance in understanding
and why.
There's also importance in understanding the psychology of the person receiving it, because the communication can only be communication if it's received well. If it's given well but not received well, it doesn't happen in a good way.
Right. So that's why the Reb Tarfon says in the Gemara, he says in his time he doesn't think that there's anybody who even knows how to receive it properly.
So I think that one of the aspects is the idea of feeling insulted when someone else is telling you what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And a person can get angry, and as you said, even want to do it dafka. You said they might turn away from Torah instead of turning towards Torah.
Yeah.
And one of the secrets that I learned from Reb Zusha, is that by him saying, I too, I'm your brother, I'm not coming down, looking down at you, I'm looking at you, I'm one with you. I'm your brother with you. I also am in the boat, this boat with you. I'm talking to you as an equal. That reduces some of the
Absolutely.
some of the because the condescension is a big problem here, a potential problem.
Correct.
Especially you're talking about what the mayor of Sarah said.
Yeah, but okay, so let's go on. So Rebbe Dan et kol adam lekaf zchut. Judge everybody favorably. So the Poshet Pshat is a mission in Pirkei Avot. The Poshet Pshat is judge everyone lekaf zchut, right? Remember we were talking. These are the kaf yadayim, the kapot yadayim, right? So kaf also means a spoon, right? Because look at the shape of the spoon, right? So on the scales, and the old scales, you probably never saw them other than pictures, but the old scales where you still can see in some of the old stores in Mea Shorim. Like you wanted to buy a kilo of potatoes, so that there's two sides to the scale. They would put a weight of a kilo on one side, then you'd put on the potatoes on the other side, right? And when it got balanced, you knew that you had a kilo, right? You know how you say scale in Hebrew? Oznaim. And it comes from the word Oznaim, because this is your balance mechanism, right? That's okay. So put everybody, judge another person the kafschut, judge them into the positive dish. So another very important thing is that when you're seeing something negative, so even when you're rebuking somebody and you're doing it gently so that the person should be able to hear it and accept it, so instead of talking about things that are not desirable, in other words, negative things, instead of talking about the opposite of positive reward, in other words, instead of telling the person about how he's going to fry in Gehenna, you can speak with the guy on the positive side. Inyan hasachar, the reward that Hashem gives for doing the mitzvah. And similar to that. Why do you need to behave yourself in a manner of not desiring the blessing? In other words, why why focus on the negative when you can focus on the positive? Speak about the great reward that we have for doing the mitzvah. Speak about the reward of the mitzvah of tshuva, and similar things. There's a whole big pasuk in the Torah about the great reward that Hashem gives for doing the mitzvahs. For example, the Torah says, if you're going to follow my commandments, then I will give you your reins on their time. And even more so, in the Nevi'im, you find it in the prophets, they speak that way, and even more so in the oral Torah. It's understood that there's a lot of material to speak about positive things. There's plenty of things to talk about the positive things. You'll have enough material to give all your drushes, all your sermons for the month of Elul. You'll have enough material to talk about throughout the entire month of Elul and Tishrei. You can talk a whole year about the positive. there's enough material to give you something to talk about in all your sermons, you know. So what the Rebbe is saying basically is that usually people go in to talk about criticisms because it's so much easier to find fault than it is to see the good. Well, ואפילו אם הינך מוכרח לוותר לצד השמאל ולדבר גם אודות הצד הבלתי רצוי, and even if you find that you have to sort of give up, so to speak, and go into talk about the left side, the negative side, or the unpleasant things. So as I must speak to Kisu, it's enough to add briefly, from the positive, one can understand the negative. In other words, if you tell a person, if you would do this and this, you would be getting so much reward from Hashem, then they'll understand on their own that if they're not doing it, it's not going to be like that. And if adding this phrase that adding this phrase of saying to the person, think about, what happens when, in other words, think about the absence of all the positive reward. In other words, when you're telling the other person or yourself that wow, if I'm going to daven well now, the reward is going to be so awesome, right? And right, from the positive, you understand what the negative is by yourself. So if that's not enough, I'd like to see if makom. So then tell the person, show them where to look it up in Chumash. In other words, tell them that they should look up these verses and see what's the result of doing those things. אמנם חודש אלול אינו הזמן להזכיר פסוקים אלו, though in the month of Elul it's not the time to mention those verses with all those criticisms and curses, אבל היות שהוא מוכרח לעשות, being that he has to do something, meaning to say, שמוכרח לעשות משהו, he has to do something כדי לרדת לחייהם של יהודים. He wants to get into the life of these Jews. אז I must speak, להוסיף מהרי מקום בלבד. In other words, even though the Bible is not a time to mention the Torah about the curses that Hashem gives in case we don't listen to the mitzvahs, right? Those should not be mentioned in the month of Elul. As a matter of fact, I just saw the other day that, that at the end of Sefer Dvorim, there's actually cited in the Torah tidbits. You ever read that? It's pretty good.
Last time I looked at it was just last night.
So he mentions there that before Shavuos, we always have Parshas Bamidbar, the majority of the time. Sometimes we have two Parshas before Shavuos. And so he says that one of the reasons that's given is that Vayikra ends with Behar B'chukotai, and over there we have all the curses that Moshe Rabbeinu lists for for Am Yisrael if we depart from walking in the ways of Hashem. So sort of to give us a break between that heavy parsha of the Techacha before Shavuos, in other words, to give us a chance to get into a better mood and so on. So we have Parshas Bamidbar in between the Techacha and Parshas and Shavuos. And he says the same thing at the end of Dvorim. We also have Moshe Rabbeinu mentions the Techacha again and double. And so we have Parshas Kisesi Kisavoy in between that heavy parts, that heavy Teichacha and Rosh Hashanah. In other words, again, for the same idea that we shouldn't have to go into Rosh Hashanah with like, oy, hey. Okay.
So we have Hazina.
No, Hazina we read on already in Tishrei. And this is before. I'm sorry. It could be a Kisesi Kisavoi, and sometimes it could be Hazino. Because usually Hazino is between it's usually around Shabbos Shuvah. Okay, so he says sometimes you just show him which passages you want him to read in the Chumash. אבל חס ושלום להוסיף ולומר את כל הדברי המוסר שנאמרו בשנה של הגבורה. But חס ושלום, don't add to your Musar talks all the days, all the don't add all the different Musar from the past year, which nation time or from 3 to 3 שנים. באופן ההפך הברכה בגשמיות, ולכן כמה וכמה ההפך הברכה ברוחניות. So don't bring up the transgressions of the previous year and the year before that and so on. Don't speak about it in a way which is the opposite of blessing. And surely don't speak about it in a way which is the opposite of spiritual blessing. In other words, like we mentioned before, that Reb Nachman said, if you don't get Techacha properly, if you don't know how to receive it, then the chances are that you're going to just run away further. I'm not going to want to have anything to do with it. Right? So you have to be so careful when you speak to somebody. You're going to say something to them. So you can show them in the Chumash which pasuk is relating to what they're doing, right? But don't bring up, for sure don't bring up I told you about this last year. You're still doing it, right?
There's an expression that sometimes people use, I told you so. That's what used to.
Told you so.
I told you already
times.
It's a form of condescension.
You see, when it comes to your own self, you love yourself enough that even though you know that you've got all these problems and transgressions, right? Your love for yourself covers that, right? So Tzemach Tzedek says, so the same way that your love covers for you over your mistakes, so love the other person also, and stop seeing mistakes. חס ושלום להודות, להזכיר הודות נקודות החולשות אצל יהודי מסוים. וחס ושלום, heaven forbid that you should mention another person's weak points. ומה גם שאינו יודע מה היא הסיבה שגרמה לכך, Besides the fact that you don't know why this person has these weak points, now that he should be in this kind of a situation that Kipsak did in the Mishnah. So, very done, it's called Dam the Kafschut, page, the next, the Zayin Zayin. So okay. So he's saying over here that you don't really know why a person, let's say somebody is doing something wrong continuously. You don't really know why they're doing that, right? You see that they're very weak in this particular thing, right? They're very weak in this particular thing, okay? But you don't really know why they are that way, right? Usually when you criticize somebody, you're thinking like, like, I wouldn't do that. Why are you doing it, right? Well, I'm not you and you're not me, right? It says a couple of weeks ago we read in the Torah, in Parshas Nesar, we read Moshe, just last week, Moshe, Vaish Moshe, Hanav Gadol Me'od, Pnei Kol Adam, he was the most humble person, right? Well, how was Moshe Rabbeinu so humble? He sees a Yid that's doing the transgression. He himself is not doing the transgression, so how is he going to be more humble than this person? So the thing is that Moshe Rabbeinu would figure, wow, if I was in this person's shoes, I'd probably be even worse. Right? And because you don't know what, there's another statement in Turkey about that says, don't judge your fellow until you're in their shoes, right? And the reality is that you cannot really ever be in somebody else's shoes. So the question is, okay, but you know that the guy is not doing so great spiritually. You know that for example, I know, that I can know that I myself am not doing so great spiritually, right? So we have to take a lesson from this week's parsha. We sent the spies to go and check out Eretz Yisrael. They came back, they gave a bad report, right? And Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, step aside, I'm going to wipe these people out and I'm going to make a whole new strain of Jews from you. That'll be more advanced, more spiritual, Moshe Rabbeinu says, no, thank you. His argument is, if you wanted angels, you already have angels in heaven. You didn't need to create us, right? You know that in creating us, we're not going to be perfect all the time. But the fact that you want to improve, that's the greatest thing. The fact that you want to improve, that's the greatest thing. Understand? So he's saying, so says the Rebbe, חס ושלום להזכיר אודות נקודות החולשה שישנה אצל יהודי מסוים. Chas v'sholem, don't mention another person's weak Achilles tendon. They're weak. They don't say, "Oh, you're weak in Lashon Hara. You're weak in this. You're weak in that." Don't do that. And and you don't even know. I'm still on the first column, the second last line. You don't know what caused the person to be like that. So I was telling you that Moshe Rabbeinu, how could he be more humble than me? Because Moshe Rabbeinu figured if he would have been in my shoes, he wouldn't be even as good as I am. Or if I would be in his shoes, I would be even better than him. You understand? That's how he would maintain his humility. Kipsak din Mishnah, and the Mishnah says, "Shita'a b'dvar Mishnah Choser, have they done it kol adam b'kavzchut? Judge everybody favorably. Al tadin es chavecha ad shetagiya l'mekomo." Or the Mishnah also says, "Don't judge your fellow until you're in his shoes." Kimuvrar barucha, as is explained at length, בפרטי העניינים בזה בספרי מוסר וחסידות, as is explained in the details of these matters in the Musar Sforim, in the Hasidic Sforim, and surely when you're talking in public, you don't mention the weak spots of another person. Okay? Okay, just excuse me for a minute.
You were back.
Yeah.
That's good. Do you know what this means? Kaf, this Mishetevot.
It's a week since I'm back, but the jet lag is still. You know when the Lubavitch Rebbe started the Tefillin campaign? You know when that was?
The 6 day war.
A couple of days before the 6-day war. On the very day that the Prime Minister of Israel at the time, remember who it was? Levi Eshkol, got on the radio to try to calm the people down. Did you see any of the films from that period on YouTube? It was really frightening. You see every day on the news tens of thousands of Arabs getting riled up that they're going to drive the Jews into the sea. They're going to drive the Jews into the sea. Remember?
Remember all that, yeah.
And as a matter of fact, there's a Yid that lives over here in Bate Breda. And so he told me that he was in yeshiva in Bnei Brak in those years. And his father asked the Rebbe if he should come home from Bnei Brak. Bnei Brak is very close to our towns also. And the Rebbe said, no, you should stay in the yeshiva. And when he came home after the war, his mother said they were so, because the Jordanians were firing rockets all over the place here. She said that she was thinking to herself, Thank God I have one son who's in Bnei Brak right now. At least one person in the family is still going to be alive. People understand that it's over. They were actually digging graves before the 6 Day War. They were digging graves to have graves ready for people. So Levi Eshkol got on the radio to sort of calm everybody down, but his voice betrayed that he himself was good and scared. On that day, the Rebbe started Mitzvah Tefillin. He told his Chassidim, get out of the bomb shelters and go put on tefillin with every chayal, with every soldier, with anybody you can put on tefillin with them. There's going to be great miracles. He was like mamish, like a novi at that time. You can see either on Chabad.org or even on YouTube. Just put in Lubavitch Rebbe 6 Day War. You'll see amazing stuff. And what was the shita of the Rebbe? The shita of the Rebbe was, and this was also the shita of Reb Shlomo Carlebach, don't focus on, hey, you, my Jewish brother or my Jewish sister, like, you're not dressed well enough, or you're not doing this, you're not doing that. Don't focus on that. Focus on something positive. There are thousands and thousands of Bali Tshuva that their Tshuva began with the Lubavitcher Chassid coming over and saying, would you like to put on tefillin? Give them a mitzvah to do. The thing is that when somebody, if a poor man comes and says they're hungry, what are you going to give them, a speech about bread, or give them a piece of bread? Give them a piece of bread. You see a yid who's not keeping mitzvahs, don't give them a speech about mitzvahs, about why they should do a mitzvah. Give them a mitzvah to do. Then you can talk afterwards, because their neshama is starving for a mitzvah. Give them something positive. You understand? So you see that. Give them a mitzvah to do. Show them how beautiful Shabbos is. Show them how beautiful learning a verse of Torah is. Connect them to this reality of that when you do something positive, it's so much better, right? So I told you the story once. I must have told you the story. It's Hanukkah time, but there was a lot of Satmar Rebbe the Baruch Rebbe was talking about all the great miracles that happened during the 6 Day War. Satmar Rebbe came out very sharp against him, saying, how could you say that Hashem did miracles through non-believing people, and so on and so on. It ended up being a big machlokes for a fair amount of time. And Satmar Hasidim were like saying things like, how do you dare take something so holy like tefillin and stop a yid who just stepped out of a treifa restaurant somewhere in Manhattan on the street, and stop this guy and say, hey, come put on tefillin. It's such a holy thing, and look at you, what are you doing? The Rebbe didn't stop with all that criticism. And today, a friend of mine told me a few years ago, he was at the Holiness of Shlomo, he said there were 2 tables of Satmar Hasidim there. So he went over to them and he said, how come you guys are here? Like, Satmar wasn't into what the Babbage is doing. And they said, now they realize what a long vision the Rebbe had. And they told him that there's a lot of guys from Williamsburg that to go do business in the Far East. And unfortunately, they're there for a month or 5 weeks or whatever it is, and they get into trouble and families end up breaking up. And they said, but now that we see there's a Chabad house here and there's a Chabad house there, there's a Chabad house there, they very often will get in touch with the Chabad rabbi and say, hey, go find Chaim Yankel, go find so-and-so. And the Lubavitchers will do it immediately. They don't say, but he's not one of ours. Chas v'sholom. Whoever it was, every Yid is your brother and sister. Every single Yid. And that's the whole thing of Hocheach Tachich et Amitecha. V'lo tisa lav chet. So what, if he's doing an Avera, what has it got to do with me? It's because of Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh Bazeh. All the Yidden are intertwined. Our neshamas are intertwined with each other. Right? Our souls are intertwined. We're responsible. So the word Arevim means one, it means guarantors. We're guarantors for each other. But why am I a guarantor for you? Why should you be a guarantor for me? If I'm going ahead and doing something stupid or doing some kind of transgression, why should you be responsible for what I'm doing? Because your neshama and my neshama are intertwined. Understand? The same. So it's and remember again the parable that the Tzemach Tzedek gave. Bread. And he wasn't careful. He's holding the bread in one hand and the knife with the other hand, and he wasn't careful and he cut himself. Right? So what would you say if that guy would then transfer the knife to the other hand and say, okay, go ahead and take revenge? Right? See, out of his mind. Right? So because why hurt the others, you're not going to hurt. So the same thing with our souls. We're part of one body. And what do you do if a part of your body is hurting? You take care of it. You try to get it. You don't. If somebody Chas v'Sholom has an infection in his toenail, what do? He cuts off his toe. He doesn't cut his toe off, right? You try to heal it. If there's a neshama among the Yidden that is not doing well, you try to heal it. You don't cut him off, right? You don't cut him off.
You're talking from love.
Huh?
You're talking from love.
You have to. Love you. It's not only love for the others. It's also love for yourself.
If you don't understand that it's from love, then you don't understand that.
Yeah. Okay, so
you understand it.
Have a good Shabbos. We're going to be having Shabbos Shuddis. Everybody's welcome out there. So Leila, Baruch, Rachel, and somebody by the name of Reb Shlomo says joined. I don't know who that is. Anyway, good Shabbos, good Shabbos. We're having Shabbos Shuddis around 7:15. Everybody is welcome.